वेलकम बैक टू अनदर वीडियो। और आज हम लोग एक ऐसी वीडियो देखने जा रहे हैं जिसका टाइटल मुझे काफ़ी हैरान
जो कि बहुत अनएक्सपेक्टेड टाइटल है,
बहुत अनएक्सपेक्टेड है। जैसे कि आपको पता है कि रामायण ट्रेलर रिलीज़ हुआ, उसके रिव्यू हम लोगों ने सुने, उसका ब्रेकडाउन ट्रेलर का हम लोगों ने देखा, बट इसमें हम लोग देखने जा रहे हैं भाई कि बैकलैश, मतलब रामायण ट्रेलर बैकलैश,
लेकिन आगे लिखा इट्स नॉट ऑल हेट।
तो देखते हैं, जानते हैं कि क्या बैकलैश है, क्योंकि भाई हम लोगों को तो ट्रेलर बहुत अच्छा लगा है, हम लोगों को बहुत पसंद आया है और इवन कि हम लोगों ने काफ़ी ज़्यादा डिस्कशन भी उसके बारे में की है। तो चलिए जानते हैं आज इस वीडियो में। और टाइटल आपको बता दिया है, बट जो इस चैनल का ओरिजिनल लिंक है
वो आपको हमारी वीडियो की डिस्क्रिप्शन मिल जाएगा, सब्सक्राइब करें। और हमारे जो व्लॉगिंग चैनल का लिंक है वो भी आपको वीडियो की डिस्क्रिप्शन मिल जाएगा, वो भी सब्सक्राइब करें।
तो चलिए स्टार्ट करते हैं ये वीडियो। Okay.
What? Yes. But you can't do this to me. You know how much I sacrificed?
ये भी स्पाइडरमैन।
हाँ, विलन के विलन।
विलन स्पाइडरमैन।
पहले विलन के पापा थे, फिर विलन बन गए।
There has been a lot that has been said on the much-awaited trailer of Ramayana. After reading a lot of opinions and thoughts across social media platforms, I realized that this movie is falling in the category of audiences marginally being excited, not being elated, not being absolutely blown away by it, but marginally ecstatic. Is that an oxymoron? I think it may be. Even though I know with absolute conviction that this movie is going to open to extremely huge numbers, its biggest haters and naysayers will tune in for this on the opening weekend because there is intrigue of how possibly this may turn out to be from a quality perspective. And no one wants FOMO. I believe, however, that there are 5 major problems that need to be addressed and discussed as the movie is scheduled to release this Diwali. There is often a tendency for the biggest fans of Ramayana to label all the criticism leveled at the movie to be hate, but I think a lot of what I am seeing online is not misdirected or vindictive venom only, but genuine feelings of what they organically felt after watching a trailer. This is not to double down on a project that is already down and out in a boxing bout, but to possibly hope that the makers are also mindful that the chatter is not completely unwarranted. So let's discuss 5 major points that I believe are going wrong for this project, according to me. Namit Malhotra's claims, approach and vision. Hear me out on this, and this may be a stretch, but I want you to be on this ride with me when I try to explain it. The entire approach of Namit Malhotra for this project in the several interviews that he has been a part of is to present this epic on the global stage. This is an approach that stems from the fact that the portrayal of Indians and Indian stories in the West have often been about how India is a third world country, and a lot of the tales were about brown men being, well, of an oppressed class, and the visuals of those stories highlighting the abject poverty in which a large section of the Indian population lives. Namit, rightly so, feels that the stories of India that celebrate our heroes should be conveyed to the West versus tales in which the Indians are morose and often on the opposite end of torment, violence or abuse. While I get this motivation to tell the world that Indians are powerful, majestic and grand in so many ways, even though all kinds of stories should exist, this need to pander to the North American market, I believe, is slightly desperate. The reason why South Korean cinema and music have become a global phenomena is because the stories that they invested money on were done with conviction for their people. It organically developed a huge following globally, whether it be dark thrillers, passionate Wattpad like aspirational romance, or even creative music and choreography. Everything first became a rage for its own people because it was created for them. A downfall in quality is being noticed by a lot of the content that is being produced from that country in the last few years, as after its global phenomena and it being embraced by the West, the creativity has transitioned to pander to the West and its sensibilities, removing the K from K-pop according to many. Similarly, in this quest to really be in the leagues of popular IPs like Dune and Avatar, these interviews with foreign media where everyone has to be spoon-fed the story and the characters of this epic, I believe Namit is trying to reverse engineer and manufacture the success of this movie, not realizing that he is talking to a demographic that is not even marginally as passionate or invested like the Indian population is with this epic. I really empathize and back Namit's want to project India as a global giant when it comes to movies, for people to take notice, for them to be educated that our storytelling is beyond us being victims, but that is marketing spiel versus why such a tale should be told in the first place. The biggest issue that I feel will always remain a burden for this project all the way until its ultimate release in theaters is the budget and the CV of DNEG that constantly gets announced in interviews. The number of 4,000 crores being invested in this project will remain a nightmare for this project throughout its run. This number is like the boogeyman. It's like Betal that will never get off their back. For it generates an expectation from the audience, and when there are flaws, even minute details that stick out like a sore thumb, it will be called out. For you set it up as the gold standard to come out of this country. This, followed by the consistent mention of the number of Oscars that DNEG has won, further increases expectations. If you boast about a filmography that includes Interstellar, Inception, Dune and The Dark Knight, an assumption that the Indian audience is way too harsh on its own stories is simply being naive and a cop-out. You know what would have been actually impactful for the West? If an epic like the Ramayana was actually soft-launched in Broadway. For it to become a sensation like Hamilton, for the tale to ruminate among a population versus just release cold turkey through random interviews. Imagine if the makers collaborated with Ashutosh Rana's Hamare Ram and invested in its run in North America, for people to be aware of the material through live theatre. What I think is essential for the marketing run ahead for this movie is for this project to be presented to the people it is meant for. All the junket systems 3 months in advance of the global release, I believe, is making a quarter of an impact that the same promotions and events would do in India. Can you imagine a live event in Bangalore where Yash is revealed as Ravan? A concert with Hans Zimmer and A.R. Rahman being ticketed prior to the movie release, where the entire album is released with a live orchestra? There is so much that can be done in Asia when it comes to selling this movie. So many countries in Southeast Asia celebrate this tale as their own and are well versed with it. And here we are, where the vision just seems generic and predictable. CGI masterclass in the times of gold standard examples. One has to realize that movies are not assessed in a vacuum. We are dealing with a time where so much content is getting consumed that there is bound to be a comparative analysis, especially when the makers of a movie proudly and consistently mention the amount of money that is being invested in the project. An investment that is more than some of the biggest commercial projects in Hollywood. In the month of July, we saw Christopher Nolan travel across the world promoting the Odyssey, the lengths that he went to shoot this film in as many practical locations as possible, the complicated manner in which he shot the film on IMAX cameras, and how efficient he was in finishing the shoot despite uphill battles ahead of schedule. When you see that work ethic, something that you can see in a documentary that is available on Jio Hotstar, when you see the lengths Rishabh Shetty went to in order to authentically tell the story of Kantara Chapter 1, where the hundreds of cast and crew invested their blood, sweat and tears to make the grand vision possible, it is assumed that the audience will expect the same and more from another project.
The company that I own, DNEG, that's got all these Oscars. Ramayana is the hardest project, visual effects wise, we're doing in the world. We've ever done.
There is a whataboutery defense when the CGI of Ramayana gets called out. The whataboutery involves the fact that Indians do not call out terrible CGI in big-scale Marvel movies, and I am here to tell you that projects like Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania, Thor Love and Thunder, and even certain frames of the Doomsday trailers are consistently being called out for their poor CGI and artificial backgrounds. A sore to the eye that has become normalized in modern filmmaking consistently gets called out online, and I think it is a very poor defense to reference that it is our inferiority complex that we call out our own movies, but are scared to call out movies from the West because we pander to the white gaze. What's mediocre gets called out and should, irrespective of where it comes from. The biggest issue that people feel about the Ramayana trailer across the board is that it is devoid of any natural setting. If you would notice some of the frames of the film that have been altered from the teaser to the trailer, they are capable of doing so because they have all been shot in curated studios with artificial lighting, which can be altered or enhanced dependent on what the makers deem fit. When nature can be manipulated to come across as night or day as you please, it often lends a flat tonality visually to the film. A polished aesthetic that is devoid of realism, of human imperfections, of texture that should exist in this world. The expectation of the movie is not to be better than the worst examples of the state of movies that have come out from Marvel. It is to be the best globally compared to everything. Assumed excellence versus versus Proof. The biggest trump card that the makers of this project keep on marketing is the duo of A.R. Rahman and Hans Zimmer collaborating together. These are legends in the industry, maestros who have invested years to their craft, providing exceptional scores and music to absolute spectacles. The assumption is that this is Rafa and Roger together, getting Messi and Ronaldo together on the same team. So when the first announcement dropped, you felt the epicness of the collaboration, you felt the scale of the orchestra, you felt like all the Infinity Stones were in Namit Malhotra's hand, and with every glimpse we expected to get more musical gems of what they may have cooked. With the odd editing pattern of the trailer that spoon feeds us the story that we already know, the same song from the first announcement is utilized to provide us a glimpse of how memorable this duo is going to be. I expect some great numbers ahead, there is no doubt about it. I'm not jumping the gun on this, but your trailer is like your clincher, something that becomes your resume as you go from door to door to sell your movie, and I felt like the stamp of their personalities was missing from the trailer. We assume that this combination of artists will be exceptional, but we need more proof of it. I say this also because I would urge you to watch the Dune 3 teaser trailer. The stamp that Hans Zimmer has on the marketing material is undeniable. The manner in which the epic war chant of Paul plays in the background, the way it increases in tempo, the way it echoes and goes out of control, it prepares you for an ultimate showdown, for a final chapter that will make everyone's jaw drop. You don't need heavy dialogues of characters, you don't need relationships and motives to be set. We know this about the epic already. The scale and expanse of the story should be implied, but this further makes me assume that the trailer cut has been specially made for the West so that they, Rohit Shetty trailer cut style, get every single detail spilled out to them. We want more of the personalities of Zimmer and ARR to be present in everything that drops versus being left somewhat in the dark of their excellence. Nitesh Tiwari has never done something of this scale. I think in a lot of the discourse of so many people getting called out after the trailer dropped, somehow no one is speaking about Nitesh Tiwari, the director who is at the helm of affairs. You know, we keep on talking about Namit Malhotra because he is the face of this project. We keep on analyzing the suitability of actors in their roles, the costumes and the lack of detail that may exist of what people were wearing during that era. But we must also remember that Nitesh Tiwari has not done anything of this scale or even genre. Nitesh Tiwari is an extremely capable director who has, in my personal opinion, delivered exceptional tales in the form of a sweet film like Chillad Party, an extremely inspiring biopic like Dangal, and a relevant and heart-wrenching tale like Chichore. We assume that Bawal doesn't exist. The man in all of these tales has provided emotionally effective stories irrespective of the scale and the talent involved. But when something like the Ramayana is handed over to you, it comes with such weight, such responsibility, it genuinely becomes something bigger than you. The pressure and scale is something that only a few directors in this country are used to, and I think the two names are S.S. Rajamouli and Sanjay Leela Bansali. If I were to stick to Hindi films specifically, Bansali since the late 90s has provided such a distinct visual aesthetic to movies that I believe there is absolutely no one who matches up to his attention to detail in the frames. I would urge you again, see the trailer of Padmavat. Just see it again and you would be blown away by what this man was capable of pulling off with 1/20th of the budget. A trailer cut that only showcases two dialogues, one in the start and one in the conclusion, and relies on editing its trailer to the musical score, implying, hinting at what the movie may focus on, but hyping the audience in the process because the scale and vision is conveyed with absolute ease. The Ramayana trailer exposes in chronological order its screenplay, and its abrupt pattern that shifts from characters to locations never is edited to its musical score, an art that a lot of people still have not employed in Hindi cinema, an art that is slept on, and its avoidance is the reason why the trailer holistically has a mid to good enough reaction versus being raved about across the board. I believe a lot of what the movie is experiencing is what the Odyssey experienced prior to its release. Criticism on the language, the casting choices, and the historically inaccurate costumes were the rage on social media months before its release. But because film fans still had faith in Nolan, who has an insane track record in delivering spectacles, there was still a belief that it will persevere, and it did. Can we have the same faith in Nitesh Tiwari? Only time will tell. Ranbir Kapoor's honest assessment. There are a lot of memes and jokes that are floating around with Ranbir Kapoor as Ram. The jokes that genuinely made me chuckle was Ranbir found a way to walk away from his house even in this film. How Ranbir in certain instances felt the urge or need to say "मैं उड़ना चाहता हूँ, मैं दौड़ना चाहता हूँ," and how his proclamation to the world to kill Ravan straight up sounded like his speech from Animal to the loyal factory employees. Ranbir is one of my favorites. You all know there is no mystery around that. I am the unofficial PR machinery of this dude, but I think there are a few things that are clear to the naked eye. The man has moments of brilliance and earnestness in the silences, in the moments where he feels overwhelmed and his eyes are full of tears. But there is a stiffness, a derivative of his previous performances that can be seen. One can't help but feel this about his presence on screen ever since he metamorphosized to become a young version of Sanjay Dutt. Viewers who watch films week in and week out can't shake off the image they already have of Ranbir in movies like Animal and Sanju. While the awkwardness in his dialogue, especially in a few moments from the trailer, was something everyone noticed, one can't help but struggle in seeing Lord Ram in Ranbir. Is he too old? Is his face too polished? Is he slightly blank in his expressions? There's something I am also personally struggling with. It also made me wonder, and tell me what you think about this. The phenomena of the same set of 4 to 6 actors working in big commercial movies in the West and in India often leads to a sense of lethargy on how much can actors really surprise you. This is something that Hollywood is dealing with right now with, Robert Pattinson, Ryan Gosling, Zendaya, Jacob Elordi, essentially being a part of every major project, leading to the same set of actors you get to see every other month or so when you step into theaters. I mean, how many times am I going to see the Indian Henry Cavill in theaters? Leave aside movies, he doesn't even leave my favorite reality TV shows. I digress. I think it's easier said than done that this epic should have been made with a newer face. No one is willing to take that risk with the kind of investment and scale this film is mounted at. But I also feel a new face leads to this clean or fresh slate for an actor. It already curtails immediate judgment or ridicule when you first see them because there is nothing to compare it to. Like you always know Ryan Gosling isms of just, casualness, of banter, always somehow finding a way to creep in his roles. Similarly, Ranbir also has these yearning expressions we are used to watching in his coming-of-age tales. It becomes distracting for a Hindi cinema fan well versed with his filmography. Will I still root and hope to be surprised like it's happened in many instances with Ranbir roles? Yes. Is it naive of me? Probably. I just want this to be such a home run, but my gut is telling me that there are obvious demerits that just need to be mentioned than the obvious glazing we will otherwise see on social media pages. And that was the video, guys. Write down in the comments below what are your top 3 things that you feel really curtailed this trailer to be a home run. Please don't forget to follow me on Instagram. The handles are right in front of you. Follow me at JammyPants4. Also, please support us by smashing the like button and subscribing to our channel for weekly content ahead. Thank you for watching.
भाई एक चीज़ तो है, आप जितनी मर्जी अच्छी चीज़ बना लें, कुछ लोग ऐसे होते हैं जो उसमें से कुछ ना कुछ तो निकाल ही लेते हैं कि भाई हमें ये चीज़ जो है वो अच्छी नहीं लगी। तो मेरा ख्याल है कि भाई ऐसी चीज़ें जो होती हैं ना वो हर सोसाइटी में जो है वो आपको जो है वो नज़र आती हैं। इवन के अगर हम अपनी बात करें ना तो हमने जब मल्टीवर्स देखी थी मूवी डॉक्टर स्ट्रेंज मल्टीवर्स, हमें वो बहुत अच्छी लगी थी, लेकिन कुछ लोगों को उसमें भी जो है वो अच्छा बहुत कुछ नहीं था लगा। तो मेरा ख्याल है कि जो एक बड़ा चंक होता है ना जो पसंद करता है उनको भी कंसीडर करना चाहिए कि भाई वो कितनी तारीफ जो है वो कर रहे हैं।
बट आई फील कि हेल्दी क्रिटिसिज्म होना चाहिए, मतलब क्रिटिसिज्म बुरा नहीं होता बट जरूरी बुरा होता है। अब अगर कुछ लोगों को नहीं सही लग रही कुछ चीज़ें और मुझे लग रहा है कि वो बात कर रहे हैं तो इट्स कम्प्लीटली ओके, क्योंकि इससे क्या होता है, जैसे हमने टीजर में देखा था कि कुछ चीज़ें नहीं पसंद आई थी तो वो ट्रेलर में आपको थोड़ा बेटर वर्जन में नज़र आ गई। अब मुझे लगता है कि ये जो नेगेटिव पॉइंट्स होते हैं जो लोग हाईलाइट करते हैं, मुझे लगता है कहीं ना कहीं पर वो टीम के लिए बहुत एक तरह से आप कह लो कि फीडबैक होता है कि किस तरीके से वो अपने प्रोजेक्ट को और बेटर कर सकते हैं, क्योंकि ऑब्वियसली जो बहुत गैर ज़रूरी चीज़ होती है वो उनको भी पता होता है और मेरा नहीं ख्याल वो उस पर बिल्कुल भी तवज्जो देते होंगे। बट अगर हम लोग रणबीर कपूर की बात करें तो येस, मैंने कमेंट्स कुछ पढ़े हैं ऐसे जहाँ पर लोग ये बात कह रहे हैं, बट स्टिल मुझे लगता है कि जब मूवी रिलीज़ होगी और लोग देखेंगे इसको कंप्लीट प्रोजेक्ट को, तो मुझे लगता है उस टाइम पर एक अलग ही वाइब होगी जब आप सिनेमा में देखते हो, फिर आप आईमैक्स में देखोगे।
एक्सप्रेशंस के वाले से बात करें या किस लिहाज से?
एक्सप्रेशंस के बारे में, क्योंकि ट्रेलर की अगर बात करें ना तो ट्रेलर में मुझे लगता है कि देखो जो रावण की साइड है, मतलब वो आपको, क्योंकि उसमें इतना अग्रेशन था ना कि वो चीज़ आपको नज़र आई है बहुत ज़्यादा, और दूसरी साइड पर इतनी कामनेस थी कि मे भी उस वजह से लोगों को ये फील, कुछ लोगों को मैं बात करूँगी कि ये चीज़ फील, बिकॉज मुझे ये लगता है कि भाई ये बहुत डिफ़िकल्ट होता है। अगेन भगवान जी का रोल प्ले करना, डिवाइन पावर का रोल प्ले करना इज़ नॉट ईजी जॉब, क्योंकि उसमें अगेन एक्सप्रेशंस जहाँ जहाँ पर लोगों ने रिलेट किया है कुछ उनकी मूवीज़ के साथ, डायलॉग्स के साथ, मतलब हो सकता है कि वो उनको सही फील हुआ हो, बट अगेन मुझे तो लगता है कि जब तक मैं मूवी नहीं देखूंगी ना, मैं ये बात नहीं बोल पाऊंगी, क्योंकि रणवीर बहुत अच्छे एक्टर हैं, इसमें कोई डाउट नहीं है।
वैसे भी भाई काफ़ी मुश्किल हो जाता है कि आप बगैर मूवी देखे जो है वो इस तरह
ट्रेलर की बेस पर हम सिर्फ इतना बोल सकें। सो मैंने जो सूर्पनखा है ना, सूर्पनखा है ना, उनके ऊपर भी जो मतलब उनकी खूबसूरती को लेकर भी जो है वो कुछ लोगों ने सुना है कि उसका इस तरह का नहीं गेटअप होना चाहिए था, क्योंकि उसका गेटअप जो है वो और तरह से दिखाया गया। अब अगेन हो सकता है कि वो अपने असली रूप में भी आए जब मतलब मूवी देखें,
क्योंकि जब हमने जो रामायण है उसमें देखा तो उसमें सूर्पनखा जब सामने आई
वो रूप बदल कर आती है। हाँ एग्जैक्टली। सो मुझे लगता है कि बहुत सारी मूवी में भी चीज़ें जो है वो क्लियर हो जाएंगी, और अगेन मुझे लगता है कि नो डाउट ये आप कह लो कि एक बड़े प्लेटफॉर्म पर मूवी रिलीज़ हो रही है और पूरी दुनिया में आपको दिखाई जाएगी, वेस्टर्न कंट्रीज़ में भी दिखाई जाएगी, बट स्टिल मुझे लगता है कि जो उस जगह के जो इमोशंस हैं, जो कल्चर, संस्कृति है, वो लोगों को दिखाना भी बहुत ज़रूरी होता है। सो जब ये वैसे एक पॉइंट मुझे ये भी सही लगता है कि जैसे थिएटर्स वगैरह होते हैं, अगर वो भी वेस्टर्न कंट्रीज़ में करवाए जाए ना, जैसे तो लोग काफ़ी फेमिलियर हो जाते हैं जो लाइव थिएटर्स होते हैं, और उनके थ्रू भी आप अपने कल्चर को जो है वो प्रमोट करते हो। सो बट मुझे ओवरऑल तो मुझे तो बहुत अच्छा लगा ट्रेलर एंड म्यूज़िक। सो अगेन मेरी नॉलेज उतनी ज़्यादा नहीं है, बट मुझे लगता है कि हर व्यक्ति की अपनी अपनी एक चॉइस होती है, और फीडबैक मुझे लगता है कि हर किसी को ज़रूर देना चाहिए। कमेंट सेक्शन में अपनी ओपिनियन ज़रूर दीजिएगा। मिलेंगे नेक्स्ट टाइम।